Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name is Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. And Talking with the Experts is about all things business, by business owners, for business owners. And today my guest is Bharat Kanodia. And he is from the US and he is a valuations expert. And today he's going to be talking about how businesses can bring value to their business and also how they can find out the value of their business for sale. So he's the founder and CEO and has valued over 2,000 businesses, real estate, industrial, governmental, infrastructure, public and private companies, some with unique assets and have been appraised. So these have included the Golden Gate Bridge, the Atlanta Airport, Uber, AirBNB, Yahoo, the Brooklyn Bridge, Mirage Casino, and many others. He has signed off on over 4,500 valuations with $2.6 trillion in assets globally. He lives in San Francisco Bay Area with his family and enjoys sailing, golfing, skiing, and horseback riding. Welcome, Bharat. And how are you?
Hi, Rose. Thank you for having me.
I'm getting tongue-tied this morning. It's terrible.
Oh, nothing a little coffee can't fix.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell me a little bit more about your business.
So I am a valuation geek, if you will, and I help business owners understand valuations, and I value businesses for owners, for banks, for insurance companies, for venture capital and private equity firms, and many others.
Yeah, okay. So how can a business owner then improve the valuation of their business? Or improve the value of their business so that they may be able to sell it at obviously at a decent profit?
Yeah, good question. So there are really, people may slice and dice it multiple ways. I try to keep things simple. So in my humble opinion, there are only two ways of increasing a business's value. Buyers are really only looking for two things in a business when they're looking to buy one. One, they're looking for a business that has consistent cash flow. Two, they don't want to do anything to enjoy that cash flow. Two things, that's it. So if a business has consistent cash flow, and if the new buyer or the current buyer can sit on their butt and enjoy that cash flow, that business is worth a lot of money.
Okay. I know that...
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we, in a previous life, my husband and I owned a retail food business in another state of Australia. And although we had good cash flow, we couldn't get anyone to buy. I don't know. Does location have a lot to do with that?
Yeah, location has a lot to do with it. It's got to be an expanding market, right? So maybe the market that you were in was not expanding, or maybe most times what happens is the owners are very hands-on, and the owners are trained to become very hands-on, because without being very hands-on, you cannot create or build a successful business. But it comes a tipping point, if you will, where the owners need to start to decide that, okay, is it better for them to continue being hands-on, or is it better to give the reins to another manager to run things on their behalf, or to automate some of these processes which they've been running with? If the owners can let go of most of the responsibilities they have, they are going away from having a job and more towards owning a business that could be sold.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we didn't do that. We were very hands-on all the time. I think a lot of the times though, because it's food and it was retail, there was a lot of theft from our staff, so we couldn't really trust anybody. We'd found out, that they'd been leaving the till drawer open and, giving stuff for free and putting the sales in their pocket. This was a fair while ago before we had, the cash systems that we have now. So we couldn't really monitor what was going on, and it was just through finding out from other customers. But, getting back to the previous question about valuations and, how people can bring value to their business and for sale. And you said you noted the two things. If you want to, could you elaborate more on those two things?
Yeah, going back to your food retail business example, I can relate with that, Rose, because I used to own a restaurant at some point in a former life. And to me, it was a labor of love and it was a lot of fun. But the best thing about the restaurant business or food retail business is it's a cash business. Mm-hmm. The worst thing about such businesses is that it's a cash business. So the same quality of a business can be a blessing or a curse.
Yeah, I agree. It's a tough life. It's 24/7 pretty much. You don't, even if you have holidays, you're still thinking about the business.
Yeah, and the worst part is that if you think you want to check out for a few days, you can't, because all the items are perishable. So I have a friend of mine who works in the cheese business, and irrespective of Christmas or Thanksgiving or New Year's or Saturdays or Sundays, it doesn't matter. Cows give milk every day. They need to be milked every day. Something needs to be done with the milk every day.
Yeah. Something
needs to be done with the cheese every day. So it is a non-stop 24/7 clock.
So how does one go about finding out the value of their business, especially if it's a cash business like a lot of businesses are?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are three ways to value any business. One is you looking at the income or the cash flow or the profits that the business provides. Okay, so you try to understand that, okay, this business over the next 2 years, 4 years, 5 years is going to give me this much cash flow. And if that cash flow is, say, $5,000 a month, if I were to take on a loan from the bank, how much loan can a $5,000 a month payment can support? Right? So it's a backwards calculation. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is what valuations are similar or comparable businesses selling for in the market. So, for example, when you're looking to buy a car, if you're looking to buy a used car or a secondhand car, you are looking for cars that are similar to the car that you want to buy and trying to find transactions of such cars that, okay, what are they going for? 5,000, 10,000, 100,000. And presumably, if you're looking for the same car, the car that you're looking for would be worth the same thing. Apples to apples comparison. A third way of looking at it is that, okay, if I wanted to build this company, build this business from ground up, or to build this car or build this house from the ground up, what might it cost to recreate or rebuild that asset as is, where is? And that's the cost approach. So 3 ways of valuing anything: the income approach, ascribing a value to the income that the business is going to bring you. the sales comparison approach or the market approach, where you're looking at similar assets, what they are selling for in the open market. And third, the cost approach or the book value approach, where you're looking at, okay, what might it cost me to rebuild or recreate this business or asset from scratch?
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I guess maybe we might just choose one, and I know you've explained them very well. And a lot of businesses, I think, look at the cash flow model more than they would look at the ground up or the comparison. And I think maybe a lot of, I think between 1 and 2, but I think 1 probably people would look at more closely. So what can they do to bring more cash flow to their business to make it more valuable?
That's a great question. So the business becomes valuable if the cash flow becomes consistent. What that means is if expecting $10,000 of revenue or income or profit in January, well, that business, by God, gives you $10,000 of income or profit in January. Same thing in February, in March, in April. And the best part about consistent cash flow is if you can enjoy that consistent cash flow without really doing anything. If you can have another job at work at Vodafone or some other place and enjoy that business that's running on autopilot, that business is a lot of money, worth a lot of money, because that business is allowing you to multitask and have another cash flow coming in while this business is making you money from nothing. So what can you do to make your cash flow consistent? You can introduce a customer loyalty program. You can introduce some kind of a incentive program for customers to refer you more customers. You can give some kind of a membership program. Basically, consistent cash flow is you're making your customer loyal to you. If the customer is loyal to you, he or she is going to consistently come back again and again and again and give you money. And that makes your cash flow consistent.
Okay, but what if it's a seasonal business?
Again, if it's a seasonal business, that is okay as well, as long as the cash flow from season to season is not fluctuating very much. I mean, there's not much you can do for a seasonal business. For example, if somebody is selling Christmas trees, well, nobody buys Christmas trees in May. And that is a problem. So you could do 2 things. One is you can't do anything, right? I mean, that's the business, that's the DNA of the business. The business is active only 2 months a year. Well, so be it. Or you could look into other seasonal businesses and try to combine them into one. For example, for Halloween or for Easter, and other seasonal pop-up shops that pop up, on locations of Christmas tree places. Sorry, go ahead. You had a question.
Right.
Okay. And the other thing is, you could make the business run on autopilot, as in introducing systems and processes in place, training your staff, training your clients or customers in expecting and knowing how to use your products or services, introducing email automation or marketing automation or digital automation, subscribing to SaaS softwares like Active Campaign or Hootsuite or other such services, which allows you to run that business on autopilot, adding a good POS system to your retail business, adding a good closed circuit TV, so that you can keep tabs on what is happening or what is not happening.
Yes, that's a good point. Closed circuit television, they've got to be the be all and end all, I think, and especially in a cash business where you need to keep eyes on the staff unless you absolutely trust them 100%.
Yeah.
Yes. So what other tips have you got for people that may be looking at getting a valuer? Do you have anyone in Australia that you could recommend?
To increase your value, increasing a business's value is not something that happens overnight. Saying that I want to increase my value, the value of my business, is kind of like saying that, okay, I want to run a half marathon. Okay, fantastic. You want to run a half a marathon. Well, that's going to take some work. You can't just wake up one day and say, okay, I'm going to run a half a marathon. You can start training for a half a marathon one day, but you have to train day after day. So to increase the value of a business, it can't be just that, okay, one day you wake up and I'm going to get this one fat contract and the value of my business is going to go skyrocket. It might go high for a short duration, but if you're not putting in the effort consistently, and if you're not making the changes which makes the cash flow consistent and makes the business run on autopilot consistently day after day, that business is not going to increase its value.
Yeah, I understand that. That makes perfect sense. So we were talking before about valuers in Australia. Do you have anyone that you could recommend?
Yes, absolutely. We have 3 partners in Australia that we work with. One is Danny Van Ossen, and one is Simon Cook, and one is James Gardner. I'd be happy to send you their links and their emails. They're good people. I've been working with them for over 5 years, and they're expert valuers who know the Australian market and the Australian business very well.
Perfect. That would be great. Then I can put them at the bottom of the video, and people can click on those links. And yeah, if they're looking to value their business or get some information on how they can improve the value of their business, they'd be a great starting place anyway.
Absolutely. Happy to
anyway, any final words you'd like to impart with our people?
Value is in the eye of the beholder. So the same business, right? So for example, if this is my phone, right? I am looking at this object from the front, so I look at the screen. You're looking at this object from the back, so you're looking at the back and the reflection of yourself. But it's the same object. Somebody looking from the top is only looking at the side angle and the top view. Again, it's the same object. So a business valuation also works the same way. Same object, but 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different vantage points. So the same business can have 3 or 4 different values. It could be for litigation, or it could be a different valuation for a transaction or a deal, or it could be a different valuation for a business loan, for a bank loan, or it could be a different valuation for tax purposes or for accounting purposes. So this is one thing people need to understand, that the same business can have 4 or 5 different valuations depending on the purpose of what it's being used for.
Okay, well, that's a good tip. People need to keep that in mind when they're looking at. And valuation to me is a bit subjective, really, because my business, if I might be really valuable to me and it's priceless, but to somebody else, it's dollars and cents. It's not worth anything to them. So yeah, it is a bit subjective to how one values their business, and they think, oh yeah, I'm going to sell it for X amount of dollars, and someone else looks at it and says, well, it's not worth that much. So yeah, and then of course then the seller gets disappointed because they're not getting what they are hoping that they will receive. It's a bit like selling your house, I guess.
Very much so, except so if somebody sells their house and they walk away, they usually receive a full check of the value of the house. And the reason for that is, if somebody were not to maintain the house for a week or 2 weeks or a month, it's not like the house is going to wither away. Yeah, there might be some maintenance problems, but that's not a big deal. However, for a business, if somebody does not take care of a business for a day or 2 or a week, serious damage can occur. That's why most times in business transactions, in business sale or transactions, there is a upfront payment, and there is some portion of the payment given as earnouts or in installments over the next 12 or 2 years, 12 months or 2 years, so that the buyer is comfortable that they are being sold and they received what they bargained for.
Yeah, we did that with our shop too. We had people come in for a week trial just to see whether they could one, handle the trade that was coming in, and two, whether they were comfortable within themselves that they could maintain the reputation that we had made within the community. So yeah, it was a big ask, and we're pretty hard taskmasters, so we just didn't want to give it to anybody. But anyway, all right, Bharat, thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to receiving those links and putting those in the notes. So you have a great evening. I'm assuming it's evening at your place. So
yes, Rose, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great holiday season and enjoy yourself. I know this is your summertime, so you would probably be getting some tan and basking in the sun. For us, it's time to hunker down and stay inside.
Hibernate, yeah. All right. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Rose.
Bye.